Hello there and welcome, beautiful dynamic business women. I'm so excited to be here today in the group. I'm Pauline Delaney, for those of you who don't know me, and today I am here to talk about how to create your compelling hook for super targeted marketing so that you can appeal to your ideal client every time. And I think this is something that is really a great topic to talk about, particularly in an online business, because we want to be able to stand out from the crowd. We want to be able to have something that puts us, makes us different from everybody else. And if you can be really clear about what that is, about who you work with, about who you help, what you help them with, and make that really, really clear and have a statement that tells other people what you do and who you help, then that is going to mean that your marketing is super targeted. You are going to appeal to your ideal client every time, and you're going to be much more likely to attract people to you who are wanting to work with you or buy your product or whatever it is that you do in your business. Now, please say hello below. I'd love to chat with you. And if any questions come up during the presentation today, don't hesitate to ask, because I love answering questions. So let's get started. What the number one thing to know when you are creating a marketing hook or a compelling hook first is to know who you are talking to, because there's no point in you putting out a message, a general message, and hoping that someone who you could help or who might be a candidate for working with you will take note of that message and say, hey, I'd love to come and work with you. How do you work? Can I sign up with you? It just doesn't work like that, because there's so much noise out there in today's marketplace, in the online world particularly, and you need to have a way of standing out so that people know who you are and that you are the person that can help them. So the first thing to do is to be very clear on your ideal client. And this is a word or a phrase that's bandied about a lot, ideal client, but it is so important. And if you can define that specifically so that you are very clear on even down to one person, so that you can aim all of your marketing at that one person, and you know very well what they want, what their problems are, and you have a solution that you can help them with. So to start with, you need to decide, or you probably have an idea of this, you may need to refine it a little bit further. Is your ideal client a man or a woman? That's the first one. Are they married? Are they single? How old are they? Are they in business? Do they have children? Do they have a job? What are their problems? Do they have health issues? Where are they? Online particularly, where can you find them? So all those sorts of things are super important and need to be dealt with, I suppose, before you get anywhere near putting out any messaging. So if you can define who your ideal client is really specifically, then that is going to be step one done. The next thing you need to do, of course, is to define or make a list of what is bothering them. So what are the problems that they're facing? What sort of obstacles, what sort of challenges are they having? So for example, if they are in a photographer, for example, and they are looking to help, say if you are a photographer and you're looking to help people who are getting married, for example, then some of the problems that they may be facing are, they want to have someone who understands them. They want to have someone who's going to be sympathetic to certain things that they might want to do at their wedding. They want to make sure that they're on the same page. They want someone who has vision. They might want someone who understands certain cultures. So all those sorts of things need to be taken into account depending on your own industry and your own business. So get really clear on the problems that your ideal client's having. And if you can get the top 3 problems, so say for example someone who's a weight loss coach, the top 3 problems your clients might have is they want to lose weight, they want to get healthier, and they want to be able to fit into their clothes, say. So those are the 3 things that you can target when you are putting out your marketing. So getting clear on the ideal problems, and then not the ideal problems, the problems of your ideal client. And then the next thing you want to do is define what else they want instead of this. So if they have X problem, what is the solution for this problem? So in the weight loss example, for example, if they want to lose weight, if they want to get, get some new clothes, get a new wardrobe that fits them, then the solution may be they're going to be able to lose 5 kilos, they're going to look healthier, they're going to look in the mirror and feel happy with their reflection instead of starting to cry every time they look in the mirror. They can open their closet and know that there are things in there that fit them and look really good on them. So knowing what they want instead is also key when you are doing your marketing, when you're defining your ideal client and you're creating this marketing hook that we're going to talk about in a moment. So let's just have a little quick look at the notes. So you want to find what their pain is, what the pleasure points or desired outcomes are. So the 3 P's are really important in marketing. And the 3 P's are your person, their pain, and the pleasure. So the desired outcomes, what they want instead of that. And if you can incorporate these 3 P's into your messaging when you are putting anything out there online, then you are going to really be able to specifically attract clients or potential clients who are going to want to work with you because they know that you've got them, you get them, and you can really hone in on those different points and be very clear in the way that you market. You want to be consistent as well. There's no point in you changing and chopping and changing. And one day you'll, say with the weight loss example, say one day you're advertising your marketing to busy mums who are looking to lose weight, and the next day you're advertising to corporate women who have to work around a single lifestyle. It's very different. And even though you may be providing a similar service, if you put out a different message, then you're going to appeal to different people and you're not going to get that targeting. And if you're so general that you could appeal to 100 different people, then that's going to be much less effective than if you can be so specific that only 1 or 2 people reading your post would really get you, and then they're the ones that are going to be your clients. Okay, so let's talk now about your hook. So this is going to be the statement that you can that this is who I work with, this is how I help them, and you can base all of your marketing around this by referring to this hook every time. So step number 1 is to decide on who you work with. So your statement is going to be, I work with. So you might say, and you can be specific here in terms of I work with women, because that's a little bit too general. So for me, for example, I work with online female entrepreneurs. So if I tell you that, you get a pretty clear picture of who I would work with. If you were a photographer, you could be working with engaged couples who are, or engaged couples might be enough. It might be engaged couples who are wanting a non-traditional wedding. It may be, if you are a virtual assistant, you may work with, again, if you're saying women in business, for example, you may say women in a service-based industry, or you could have something more specific. So if you can give as much description as possible to make it specific, then that's going to work in your favor very well. So I work with, insert your person. And then you want to decide what do you help them with. Or actually, even before that, let's work out what their problem is. So I work with, insert person, who are struggling with. And if I know that many coaches particularly don't like that word struggling. So the other word to put in would be maybe challenged by. So this is where you're going to put in their ideal problem. So for me, for example, I work with online female entrepreneurs who are struggling with getting their dream clients and growing their businesses. So if you are someone who is, say, a weight loss coach working with mums, you could be, I work with busy mums who are overweight, who are struggling with getting fitter and losing 5 kilos. If you can really hone in on what their top problems are and put one of the or two of those into your sentence, because you can imagine if you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and you're seeing post after post of people saying, you know, you want to lose weight, join up with me, you'll lose 5 kilos in 5 weeks. You know, want to lose weight, here's the 6-step plan that will have you eating nothing and losing weight very fast. But if you saw a post that said, are you a busy mum struggling to put meals on the table healthy meals on the table every day, wanting to lose a few kilos but have no idea on where to start and don't know how to fit that into your busy life around your kids? Something like that is going to be much more specific and much more appealing to your potential ideal clients. So if you can be really, really specific with what you're saying and really hone in on those problems that they have, then that is going to be much, much more powerful. So I work with, insert dream client, who are struggling with, insert their biggest problem. And I help them, and then you're going to talk about the outcome that they have. So I help them lose weight in an easy way so that they're not deprived of food. I help them create menu plans that are easy to fit in around their family. Whatever it is that you help them with, if you can be specific with that, and if this is their ideal outcome, like we talked about before, knowing who your ideal client is, what are their biggest challenges, obstacles, or pain points, and then what are their ideal outcomes or their pleasure points. So if you're clear on those, you've done that exercise, maybe spent 15 minutes, 20 minutes brainstorming and getting a long list of all of those points that you can then pick out the top ones that you hear most often. And that's key as well. Listen to your audience. So just because you think something is what they're struggling with and their biggest pain points, you can very much get detached from what's happening and not stay in tune with what's really going on. So make sure that you're regularly checking in and making sure that what you're putting out there is also what they are struggling with and what they are talking about and so if you go into a Facebook group that contains your ideal client, what's the discussion about? What are people complaining about? What are they talking about? Those are the things that are going to be your what you want to put your marketing towards. So you want to be able to, excuse me, you want to be able to really stay current with what's happening so that you are really on top of all of the discussion that's happening, the current stuff that's going on, and you're not putting out something that you think is what they want, and in reality they could go, that's okay. What you want to do is put out content, put out messaging that is must-have and is irresistible for them. Okay. So what we have got down to is I work with, so for me, I work with online female entrepreneurs who are struggling with, what's their biggest pain points, who are struggling with getting their dream clients and growing their business. And I help them use paid or free content to stop chasing clients and attract their ideal client more easily. So that's the next step. What do you help them do? What's the ideal outcome that they want that you can help them with? So this is where you are tailoring your solution to the biggest problems that they're having, and you're offering them their dream solution. So, and this is interesting as well. This has to be, it has to be consistent here. So you might have 10 things that you do in your business, 10 ways that you can help your clients that are all different. But if you are constantly putting out 10 different messages, then it's going to really dilute what you're putting out there. What you need to do is be very specific about who you help and the things that you help them with, and aim at their biggest problem and the biggest goals or dreams that they want, and those are the marketable things. You may help them with 20 other things as well that they need, but they don't know that they need. And you can bring that in later. But if you can lead with the biggest problems, the biggest bright, shiny objects that they want, then that is going to be much more powerful. And I know that a lot of people do get caught up in that, but I can do this, and I also do this, and I also do this. That's fine. That's all well and good. But a lot of the times, your people, your potential clients, they don't know that they need those other things yet. So there's no point in you marketing a lot of the stuff that you do, which you know that they really need, if they're not aware that they need it. So you need to pick and choose the things that they are really aware of, and that's what you're going to use when you create this hook. Hope that makes sense. All right, so where we are now is I work with your ideal client who are struggling with what are their biggest pain points, and I help them to whatever, which is what your solution is for them, so that they can. Now, if I said to you, okay, I work with online female entrepreneurs who are struggling with getting their dream clients and growing their business, and I help them use paid or free content to stop chasing clients and attract their ideal client more easily, then sure, that's great, that's powerful. But if I can add in an extra bit so that they can, which gives you really what they're aware of, that's going to be even more powerful, so that they can free up their time while creating more revenue and running a high-level business. So if we go back to the example of the weight loss coach, for example, and this is off the top of my head, so it might sound different to what it did before. I help busy mums who are busy, overweight mums, and that, you might want to refine that so it sounds a little bit nicer, who are struggling with creating healthy meals for their family and losing weight. And I help them to instead easily set up a week's worth of menu plans that will help them lose 5 kilos in 3 weeks, so that they can feel happier when they're looking in the mirror, open their wardrobe and find a whole lot of stuff that they can wear without feeling depressed every time they do that. So that final outcome is just the icing on the cake. It really emphasizes what the outcome will be for them. So that's why I'd recommend putting that little extra bit in there. So let's just recap again. And I don't want this to go on for hours, so I want to be short and concise and let you understand that this is quite a simple process, and it gives you a very clean, defined hook that you can use yourself when you're marketing. And it really makes it so that if somebody says to you, if you go to a networking event, for example, and someone says to you, oh, hi, well, what do you do? And you say, oh, well, I'm a business coach, and I work with ladies, people in business, and I help them with their time management. I help them with their getting online. I help them with their marketing, and we do this and we do that and we do. So that's what I do, but it's a much more long, drawn-out process. It's not that concise, clear message that we're talking about today, which you can easily create with your hook. And that's the thing as well. You can use this anywhere. For one thing, I have it up on my wall so that when I'm putting things out online, it always comes back to that. That's who I work with. That's what I do. And my messaging stays consistent with that. And then if I go to a networking event and someone says to me, what do you do? I've got that answer ready. If I'm in a Facebook group and I'm introducing myself, if I'm anywhere online, I have that concise message that I can use. And I don't have to use it word for word every time. The same with you. You don't have to do it word for word every time, but it gives you a framework. And you can use bits of it because you've taken the time to really analyze what it is you do, who you work with, how you help them and what their problems are. And that is really, really key. So let's recap again. So I work with, insert your client, your ideal client, who are struggling with, insert their problem, and I help them to, insert what you help them do, so the outcome that they're going to have from working with you, so that they can, and that's the extra icing on the cake that really nails it, so that it's making it that really big, beautiful, big, colourful picture for them, and not just that black and white. So it's just sort of giving it that extra emphasis. And I know that if I was, say the brides, for example, if you work with, I work with newly engaged business women, if you're a photographer, let's just use that example, who are struggling with finding someone to photograph their wedding who has the same vision that they have. And I help them instead to create a beautifully designed plan for their wedding, so that they can create the atmosphere that they want and have a beautiful wedding album that they can be proud of for years to come. Okay, so that gives you a really, really, what's the word? A beautiful rounded picture of what I do if I was a photographer, which I'm not. I'm terrible at photography. Okay, so thanks, Michelle. Yes. So I think the key is to put in that time at the start to really decide on who you want to work with, what problems they have, what you're going to offer them, and making it that really clear statement so that then you've got it. You're not having to struggle each time when you go somewhere, when you go to a networking event, when you're in a Facebook group, when someone asks you the question and you go, I don't know what I do. Because it's much more, you sound much more confident, much more of an expert if you can have that simple statement. And as you can see, what I've talked about in these different examples I've given you, they're not rocket science. They're not really complicated. They're not really so well defined and beautifully worded that you have to be a scholar to create them. They're simple, they're easy to understand, they're very direct and concise. And that is what is going to help you when you are online, because if you can't create something that's very easy to understand and simple, so simple that a 10-year-old could understand it, and if you're not sure about your copy, then actually ask a 10-year-old if you know one, then being too clever can work against you. Because if you write great, really clever copy that's got all these little nuances in there, particularly if you're, say, writing a Facebook post, then people are scrolling through really, really fast. And if they see something and go, I don't get that, instead of going, oh, so I better stop and read that and see if I can understand it if I read the rest of it, they're just going to go, oh, too hard, off we go. Later on, you can get into the nuanced stuff and the really clever stuff. But if you want to capture their attention, then you need to lead with the simple, concise, direct approach. And that's what we've been talking about today with your compelling hook. So if anyone has any questions, then I'm happy to come back in later and I will answer anything below. So please pop them in. For now, hopefully you have your very concise marketing hook. And you can go out and use it now. You can go out and use it when you are networking, when you are online, when you're in Facebook groups, when you're on any social media platform, whenever you and have it as a framework for you to then design your marketing around so that you are quite clear on who you're working with. And when you're creating content, for example, you know who that content is aimed for. So rather than creating something and then going off on a tangent, you can always keep looking back at your little whiteboard or wherever you've got it popped up there and say, is this suitable? Is this what my ideal client wants? And if it's not, then you need to tweak the message and make it more clear and make it more targeted so that you're always putting out stuff that's for your ideal client. Okay. So thanks so much for being with me today. I have really enjoyed presenting and I'm hoping that you got some great little nuggets in there. As I said, pop any comments below, and I would love you to join me. I am having a webinar in a couple of weeks. I think it's on the 13th of September, and it's called Create Your Compelling Headline to Grow Your List Like Crazy. And that's, again, being very specific, being very direct, being very targeted with what you're putting out there. And if you come along to my webinar, then you will learn how to create the best headline that's going to get your content read. And that's how you're going to, again, get more of your ideal clients to follow you, to take notice of you and sign up with you again. That's what you want. You want to turn them from a prospect into a client. Okay. Thanks so much, Michelle. Thanks, Louisa. And again, I have really enjoyed being here. Any questions, I'm really happy to answer them. And I will see you again later. Bye for now, ladies.